I'm Megan Cole.
And I'm Mike Garrity.
And welcome to another episode of 3 Wide Life. This week we have Scott Speed, who is one of the only American drivers to have success in Formula One and currently runs in the NASCAR Cup Series.
We also have Core Autosports, a road course team out of South Carolina, and they've got Colin Braun, former NASCAR driver, driving their car. But first, let's sit down with Scott Speed as he talks about the start of his motorsports career. And we all know Scott has a lot to say.
Shh, we're going.
They're trying to film, so shut up. Hey, I'm just saying.
I was born in California. When at 19, I moved to Europe, and I was there for, I think, 7 years. So I think realistically, yeah, I grew up a lot in California, but I was also, sort of raised in Europe just because I spent so much of my very young youth there. And mentally, I was probably 13 at the time, because I'm extremely immature, so that had a big impact on my personality and on my life, spending those years in Europe. So there's a little bit of both. My dad raced go-karts when I was a kid, since I can remember. Since age 3, I was chasing him around the go-kart tracks. You grew up wanting to do it, and I finally got the chance to do that when I was 11. It's similar to NASCAR, I guess. It's just a different form of racing, When you start out in go-karts, you generally are, aiming to go to Formula One, that being the pinnacle of open wheel racing. The steps for that were different in the sense of, in open wheel racing, if you really want to reach and reach Formula One, you got to go over to Europe and race over there, because it's where the most competitive people in the world go to race. So I was extremely lucky to get a sponsorship and support from Red Bull and the ability to move to Europe and to be able to pursue that dream. When I was around 18, 19, I just sort of gotten enough scholarships sort of out of go-karting to run a couple free Formula car races, and I ended up doing a Formula car school out in Sonoma. At that time, Red Bull came along with this idea they wanted to do like an American driver search, sort of like, I guess, American Idol or something, to make a Formula One team. And a whole American Formula One team was the original idea, to have an American manufacturer, American driver, all that. At that time, they picked 16 of the open wheel guys from go-karts. I was one of the younger ones. And from there, they ended up selecting 4 of us, and I was one of the first 4 to go over and race in Europe. And since then, they repeated that process for 3 years. At that time, I was basically the only American left over there that they still used in their program of development drivers. Mostly all European guys. And from that, I just went up through the ranks and was eventually one of the guys that they put in their Formula One car. But at that time, it wasn't really under the same program of that American thing they were trying to do. I was just part of their driver feeder system that Red Bull had at the time. For an American to go over there and be successful is my greatest achievement, even more than anything I can do in Cup. So we were able to go over there and be successful enough to win championships and to make it a Formula One on merit, not with anything behind it. We didn't buy anything. I was able to earn it, and that'll always be the thing that I'm the most proud of. Every kid, when they're racing, if you want to say what's the top you could possibly ever achieve, is Formula One world champion. So to be able to make it there and at least have that opportunity, it was always sort of a dream. I was sort of a long shot, and I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, and things went right when I guess they needed to. And when I got to Formula One, it was an extremely just unlucky circumstance. But before that, I can look back and think of times where I was in the right place at the right time. So it's just racing, As my good buddy tells me, when I go down to flames. Like if I'm gonna leave a situation, I've never been very political of leaving any bridges still standing. I like to burn them down. But the fine thing was, we'd just gotten the first point for our team. I finished 8th in Australia, and at the end of the race, one of the guys on the other Red Bull team, that was the better Red Bull team, that had more funding, they're faster cars, he finished behind us, and he protested basically that we passed him under caution, and I called him out on it. That was at the very end, when everything was already sort of set in stone. They needed to get me or Tonio out for political reasons. When the team owner is recalling races and not remembering what happened, I don't know, I lost my patience for it all. And I was kind of over it at the time. It was one of those things that it just didn't work out, is what it is. I still had the respect of a lot of people over there and a lot of other race teams, and if that's something that I wanted to pursue after, I think I could have. What was more important to me at the time, though, was the relationship I had with Red Bull. They obviously understood the situation, and they gave me the choice to do what I wanted. They asked if I wanted to stay over there and race something else or what I wanted to do, and that's when I made the decision to try the whole NASCAR thing, just to try something new and just get out of that routine. It was way beyond reality. It was just a little bit of a dream.
So now we know how Scott Speed got his start in racing, and he definitely has a unique story.
Now let's figure out how he went from Formula One to NASCAR, two totally different types of racing and different types of vehicles.
I think that all the experience in racing open wheels cars coming over to NASCAR ended up being pretty much useless. All your instincts, the feel of the car, everything is so different, especially on ovals. You know, oval racing itself has got its own whole different set of rules and whole different set of tendencies that you'd never experience on a road course. You know, my whole life I grew up with, you know, race car drivers that were really fit, that took everything to that extra level. Physically looking at the drivers, you're like, these aren't race car drivers, what are you talking about? You know, especially you look at Tony Stewart. I mean, you're like, really? You know, there you have, you know, one of the best that has played the game, you know, in Tony. So when you look back and you look at what the NASCAR guys look like, you're like, all right, this can't be that hard. It was a very steep learning curve. I had to relearn a lot of things. It took all the way until I got the Cup because everything I did in truck and ARCA was super easy. We had no problem winning races. Even when I was in Cup and we got stuff that was competitive and good, when we were running well, it seemed easier. When things aren't right, it's a 3,500-pound car, and if it's not happy, it's definitely not happy. There's not much you can do about it. So I don't think I could go back to the F1 style car in anything less than a couple of years. Your instincts, everything changes. The movements, it's so much slower. Your reactions have to change. Everything is so different feeling. You can't just go back and forth. The easiest way to explain the culture difference or sponsors and all that would be going from Talladega to Augusta at a golf tournament. That would be your difference in crowd. The crowds and all that are still huge, but the sponsors and the engagements that you did, they were all sort of more black tie-y and real fancy. From week to week in NASCAR, you're going from mostly the same environment to the other, where in Formula One, you're going from country to country. So one week you're in Italy, the next week you're in China. You know, that ability to sort of travel the world and have that network of people that are all in such different cultures, you just end up being, you know, extremely well-rounded. You know, you never really get stuck in one little bubble. I don't think that it's any more competitive, but the teams and the environment are so much more separate. When you walk down the paddock in a Formula One garage, you have teams speaking different languages. You know, the team next to you, everyone over there speaking French, for example, or Italian. So you can imagine the cultures are just so much different. Where you walk through the NASCAR garage, the culture is very similar. Not only are everyone speaking the same language, but they all kind of normally come from the same place. So it just naturally breeds for a much more social environment. So you're a product of your environment, and when you grow up in a place where everyone takes care of what they look, you know, it's important. Everyone has a style or cares about a style, good or bad. It's just a part of life. You know, people there socially, people will go out and spend $200 on a pair of jeans, whereas here, that's ridiculous. So when you go from that, you know, living over there in that lifestyle, you come over here, I just naturally carried it over. It was perceived, you know, how it was. I'm sure Amanda says she thought I was gay. She knew. But, you know, it was one of those things where I've never really cared too much what people think, so I just kept being me. But eventually I just sort of stopped caring, first and foremost. My days of traveling the world, being a race car driver, I mean, that's definitely not in the future. I'm a dad, first and foremost. I definitely keep in touch with a couple guys, and I'm definitely lucky enough to still have friends all over the world.
Scott Speed has had his ups and downs in racing and has finally found a home in NASCAR.
He's with Levine Family Racing, which originally started out of Texas, and they're both trying to make their mark in NASCAR.
Yeah, there's no question. At the beginning of the year, before they took the wing off, our package was awesome. We ran top 15 everywhere. We had a couple top 10s. And it was like, wow, all right, no problem. And then they took the wing off and we had no idea what we were doing. And I think the team was going through a really tough transition with Braun and all that. And it was just one of those situations where it was the wrong place at the wrong time. I think the way it was done was what was the most disappointing, honestly. But I mean, it's behind us. It is what it is. I wouldn't be a professional race car driver if it wasn't for them. So at least I proved to myself that I made that transition into NASCAR and could be successful doing it. And so that was important. But I think it's just one of those situations that just didn't work out. Nothing's hard. I mean, it's just part of life. Honestly, I think I'm lucky that I've been able to go through so many of those different experiences to have personally done them, whether they're good or bad. I've always treated life very much like a journey. I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just trying to experience as much as I can. I guess it was difficult, for sure. I think that much more on top of that, at that time in my life, was dealing with losing my mom. But I mean, the fact that it all sort of accumulated at one time, I guess added on top of it. But I mean, the racing is what it is. I've always been like water, just kind of going with the flow. But dealing with that part of my life, though, with mom was definitely way harder than dealing with. I mean, it almost put it in perspective, honestly, where I was like, really, am I really going to complain about not having the perfect race car driver job right now? It almost didn't matter anymore. I know for myself that in both situations, in open wheel and in stock car racing, that I've been able to compete with the best in the right situation. So for myself, I know, I don't care if I need to prove it to anyone else, but I also very much realize that when you come from someone with my background, which does not come from a parent or a source of funding that has been able to buy whatever you wanted, you know, your chances of making it as a race car driver are pretty slim. You gotta get pretty lucky. And I have a very clear understanding of the situations I was in that were lucky and the situations that were unlucky. And it is what it is. It's a journey. Lucky to be here. It would take a lot for me to go somewhere else. It'd be one of the big major teams calling to go do something that would put me in a position to go win races again before I would leave. Because going and running somewhere maybe that's a little bit better team, like it wouldn't be worth stopping what we've already built. Everything here is awesome. I feel like the year after Red Bull, when I did the start and park stuff for the 46 team, I felt more or less like I was just having to make a living, you know, driving race cars to support my family. And I'm super lucky that at the end of the year I got this opportunity, because now it's about trying to really make something with a very small group of very good people around me. And that's added a whole new aspect of racing that I've never really had before, and that's, you know, really being part of everything. You know, being part of the discussion that's every aspect of the race team and how we're going to find sponsors, what races are we going to run, and really feeling like you're able to contribute on a much bigger level. So that's been the greatest upside of this whole thing. Goals to win a Cup championship, okay? Obviously. So I mean, goals are like anything else, or expectations are like anything else. You have to adjust them, you know, especially, yeah, you go up to the racetrack, you think your car is going to be really good this weekend, you show up to the track, you might expect one thing. You're going to know within the first practice session, you're going to readjust those expectations. You're going to sort of know where you are and you know, readjust your goals constantly, and that's how we're going to be as well. I mean, we're trying to grow it and trying to be as good as we can. And at this time, it's an extremely ambitious task, but it's something that we're all, you know, pushing with everything we have for us. So whether we get any better than we are now or not, it's really irrelevant. What's relevant is that we're a group of people that really care about each other and really push with everything we have, and that's way more rewarding than anything.
Scott Speed isn't the only one who's run in multiple race series. Colin Braun also has a diverse background.
That's right, he started in road course racing at a very young age, moved to NASCAR, had a bunch of success at Roush Racing, and he's back to his roots in road course racing with Core Autosports.
For me, you know, I was a young kid growing up in Texas. Where I grew up in Texas, I guess the go-kart racing was a little bit more popular and prevalent. My dad was engineering at the time in Indy cars and sports cars. So it was kind of, I guess, the natural progression to go kind of do the road course thing. When I turned 13, started racing, you know, a little bit higher level of go-karts all across the country. And when I turned 14, we started racing an open-wheel formula car, which I guess is sort of a kind of a semi-professional level, racing out on the West Coast in California in a little open wheel Formula car, racing against Marco Andretti and Graham Ray Hall. You know, we all kind of raced go-karts against each other and then raced cars against each other as well. And then started moving into the sports car ranks. Just, you know, for me, I was never one of those guys that really had a kind of a choice of what to do. It was sort of like, where can I go win races and what's available for me to be able to go and race. For me, you know, racing in that Grand Am Daytona Prototype Series was great. You know, I was 16 years old, 17 years old for the 2 years that I raced there. Opened a lot of doors, kind of got my name out there on a, you know, high level. Here I was competing in, you know, one of the top sports car series in the country. We were winning races, winning championships. And you know, not to mention the people that I met. You know, I got to meet a lot of really good people at Ford. Got to meet, you know, Jack Roush and Robert and Doug Yates, because those are the guys that built our engines. So got to meet a lot of people, and you know, those guys kind of took an interest in what we were doing and how we were running. And that opened the door for me to kind of get in with some of the people at Ford and with Jack Roush and his camp as well. So, you know, out of the sports car racing basically came the opportunity to go NASCAR racing and try my hand at a few ARCA races. And it went really good. My first 3 ARCA races went really well, and Jack said, hey, why don't you come and drive this truck full time? So pretty much, you know, again, one of those decisions that it wasn't very hard to make. You know, for me, called up Morgan Brady, who's a team manager here at Core Autosport. Just cold called him. I knew of them and knew their shop was down here. And I kind of said, hey, I live in the Charlotte area. I used to race sports car stuff. Want to go back sports car racing. Seems like, you know, with me living less than 45 minutes from your shop, I should come down and meet you guys and see what's going on and see what you have going for 2012 in terms of drivers. And you know, he said, yeah, come on down, and it kind of went from there. You know, Morgan, you know, showed me around the shop, and I met John Bennett, who owns the company and is the guy that I drive with, and just went from there. You know, I'm really happy here doing what I'm doing. I love racing these sports cars. I love winning races, and for me, my whole motto, I guess, ever since I was, you know, a little kid racing was always picking to do something that I can win races in. And you know, whether I have an opportunity to go and start and park a cup car or go come here and win races and championships in sports car racing, I'm all about going to win the races. I think I care a lot less about what I'm in and a lot more about if I can win races and be successful. And you know, that's my whole goal. You know, it was just, I guess, a stroke of luck that I'm here at Core Autosport, you know, now. If I would have called Morgan up and they would have already had drivers signed, you know, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this right now. So, you know, I think everything happens for a reason. And, you know, for me, it's tough to say exactly where I'm going to be at in 3 years. But, you know, if I was here racing sports cars and winning championships, and, you know, I'd be happy doing that for the next 3 years too. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Here at 3 Wide Life, we love race cars and we love learning about the technology.
So we're going to walk around one of these awesome race cars that Colin Braun drives every weekend, and he's going to tell us all about it and what makes it unique.
Okay guys, here's my race car. Just want to show you around a little bit about this ALMS LMPC prototype car that I'm driving. You know, we've got a kind of a stock engine in these. It's an LS3 Chevy engine. And obviously, you know, in these cars, we've got the engine in the middle of the car. We've got the transmission located, you know, behind the engine. One big thing that's a huge difference between this and the NASCAR stuff is we've got carbon fiber brakes. So they're incredibly grippy, they stop really well, they have such good durability. You know, we do 12-hour races in these cars and we can stop just as well in the first 5 minutes of the race as we can at the end of the race. So, you know, we're a 2,200-pound car versus the heavy stock cars. You know, we've also got a little bit more aerodynamics on these cars. Right here, normally, we've got a rear wing that sits, that makes a lot of downforce. And once you put the bodywork on these cars, that in itself makes a lot of downforce as well. You know, and then if you kind of move up a little bit more to the middle of the car, we've got, you know, obviously the driver compartment area where the driver sits. We've got different seat inserts, because in this series you've got 2 different drivers that'll drive during the course of the race, sometimes 3 for the longer races. So we've got these seat inserts that are, you know, custom fit for each driver that go into the base seat, so that when we get in the car we obviously fit well. And then also a big difference on this car is we've got paddle shifts on the steering wheel here, so we can just up change and down change. So up shift and down shift just off of pulling these paddles. We don't have to use a lever, we don't have an H pattern obviously, so it's a sequential gearbox. and you just pull the pedal to shift. You don't have to lift off the throttle, don't have to blip the throttle, none of that. So really makes it a lot easier to use, that way. We've also got a data system on these cars, so we're recording throttle position, engine RPM, speeds, and all those kind of things. Then we got the front of the car here. Another difference, obviously, is the whole chassis is all carbon fiber, so it's strong and light, which is obviously why this car only weighs 2,200 pounds. And then you can see by the size of these brake discs how big the tires are. Our tires are, very wide. They're very grippy. They make a lot of grip in the corners. So these cars corner incredibly well based on the fact they're so light and they're so nimble. It's just a really, really fun car to drive. You can't throw these cars around maybe as much as you can a Nationwide car or a Cup car, but man, they're a lot of fun to drive.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode of 3 Wide Life. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Scott Speed and Core Autosport for letting us hang out.
As always, make sure you're checking out our website, our Twitter, and our Facebook. We are constantly updating them with new, cool motorsports content. And until your next race, keep on living the 3 Wide Life.